Good day everyone, and to this video we will tackle about the chapter 8. It is entitled Jose Rizal's Annotations on Antonio de Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. But first, what does annotation means? Annotation, it is a note of explanation or comment added to a text or diagram. Meaning of Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. Las Islas Filipinas, it means Philippine Islands in English and was named in honor of King Philip II of Spain. Successus means the work of an honest, a versatile bureaucrat who know the workings of the administration from the inside. About the Successus de las Islas Filipinas. Successus de las Islas Filipinas is the most important work of the Philippines about the colonization of Spain. It is also published by Antonio de Morga in Mexico in 1609. This book explains the political, social, and economical aspects of the colonizers and the time colonized country. The book is based on the experience and observation of Antonio de Morga, and also annotated by Jose Rizal with a prologue by Dr. Ferdinand Blumentritt. Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas consists of 8 chapters. First, discoveries of Eastern Islands. Second, government of Francisco de Sande. Third, government of Don Gonzalo Recuelo de Peñalosa. Fourth, government of Dr. Santiago de Vera. Fifth, the government of Gomez Perez Dasnarias. Sixth, government of Don Francisco Tello. Seventh, government of Don Pedro de Aqua. Eighth, an account of Philippine Islands. The first 7 chapters mainly concerned with the political event which occurred in the colony during the terms of the first 11 governor-generals in the Philippines, beginning with Miguel Lopez de Legazpi in 1565 and Pedro de Aqua, who died in June 1606. In the chapter 8, it describes the pre-Hispanic Filipinos, which for Jose Rizal has the ethnographic value and indispensability, especially in the reconstruction of the historic period. Antonio de Morga. He is a Spanish lawyer of the government official during the 17th century. Antonio de Morga is also a historical anthropologist and author of Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. He also wrote the first lay formal of the Philippines conquest by the Spain. And he is the doctorate in canon and civil law. For me, Antonio de Morga was so wise and bright. The purpose of Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. This was wrote by Morga in 1609. Ang purpose of writing Sucesos was so he could chronicle and quote the deeds achieved by the Spaniards, the discovery, conquest, and conversion of Filipinas Islands, as well as various fortunes that they have time to time in that great kingdoms and among the pagan people surrounding the islands. What led Jose Rizal to Morga's work? First, Rizal was an earnest seeker of truth, and this marked him as historian. Second, he had a burning desire to know exactly the condition of the Philippines when the Spaniards came ashore the islands. Third, his theory was that the country was economically self-sufficient and prosperous, entertained the idea that it had a lively and vigorous community. Fourth, he believed the conquest of the Spaniards contributed in the parts of to discipline of the Philippines' rich traditions and culture. Fifth, he then decided to undertake the annotation of Antonio de Morga's Successus de las Islas Filipinas. Sixth, his personal friendship of Ferdinand Blumentritt provided an inspiration for doing a new edition of Morga's Successus. Seventh, devoting 4 months research and writing and almost a year to get his manuscript published in Paris in January 1890. Why Jose Rizal chose Morga's work? Rizal felt Morga to be more objective than the religious writers whose accounts included many miracle stories na kanang dili katuuhan nga stories. Morga, compared to religious chronicles, was not sympathetic to end-use, and finally, Morga was not only the eyewitness but a major actor in the events. Ang gisuwat ni Morga dili ra kay kanang nakita na ni Ja, but iyahaning si Ja mo'y actor aning ijahang gipang suwat. Rizal's second consideration for a choice of Morga was that it was not only civil as opposed to religious and ecclesiastical history of the Philippines during the colonial period. The third consideration of the choice of Morga was Rizal's opinion that this secular account was more objective, more trustworthy than those written by religious missionaries, which were liberally sprinkled with tales of miracles and apparitions. Mga miracles di katuuhan. Fourth, the consideration of Rizal's choice of Morga was that it appeared more sympathetic, at least in parts, to the Indians, in contrast to the friar accounts, many of which was biased and downright racist in tone and interpretation. Last consideration that Morga was a white witness and therefore a primary source. Dili niya kinapin nga gisuwat ni Morga ijahang kaugalingon. And its people at the point of first contact in Spain. Then how did Jose Rizal know about Morga's work? Giunsa pagkahibaw ni Rizal? First, Rizal found the book while he was in London at the British Museum's reading room. Nakita ni Rizal ni nga libro sa London, sa museum na reading room. Also, he hand-copied the whole 351 pages of the book. Gikapi ni Ja ang gihandwritten ni Ja ang kanang 351 ka pages sa book arang taasa. And it was first historical work of the Philippines by a Filipino. It is the first history work written from the point of view of the colonized, not a colonizer.
Criticisms on Rizal's annotations. Blumentritt's prologue. Historical use of hindsight and a strong anti-clerical bias. Virtual attacks on the church were fundamentally unfair and did not conform to approved standards of ethics. Abuses of friars should not be construed to mean that Catholicism is bad. Ambiguity and protagonist alike. Ferdinand Blumentritt's prologue to Successos de las Islas Filipinas. He wrote it in Spanish even though German is his native language. Encouraged Rizal to write about the Philippine pre-colonial history. He praised Rizal's work as scholarly and well thought out. Blumentritt criticized Rizal's explanation on 2 accounts. He noticed that Rizal had committed the mistakes of many modern historians who judge events in the past. He said that Rizal shouldn't condemn Catholicism even though they didn't do Any effort to suppress calls for reform, he shouldn't just keep the critic about religious orders in the Philippines. The successes, as annotated by Rizal, appeared for the first time in the Philippines 68 years later when a publisher in Manila published the new work in 1958 to contribute his bit to the national effort to honor Rizal. The present works, the sixth volume of the series of writings of Jose Rizal, which the Jose Rizal National Centennial Blumentritt criticized. Little by little, the Filipinos lost their old traditions, the mementos of their past. They gave up their writings, their songs, their poems, their laws, in order to learn other doctrines which they did not understand. Another morality, another aesthetics, different from those inspired by their climate and their manner of thinking. They declined, degrading themselves in their own eyes. They became ashamed of what was their own. They began to achieve and praise whatever was foreign and incomprehensible. Their spirit was damaged and it surrendered. Rizal's annotations of Morga's successors to the Filipinos. According to Rizal, in my No Limitang Hari, I commence to sketch the present condition obtaining in our country. The effect produced by my efforts give me to understand before proceeding to develop. Before your eyes, other successive scenes that is necessary to first labor to past, in order the better to judge the present and to survey the road trodden during 3 centuries. The three result purpose of why annotating Morga's work. First, to awaken the consciousness of the Filipinos regarding their glorious ways of the past. Second, to correct what has been distorted about the Philippines due to Spanish conquest. Last, to prove that the Filipinos are civilized, advanced even before the coming of the Spaniards. Rizal annotation. The people of the Philippines had a culture on their own before the coming of the Spaniards. The people of the pre-Hispanic Philippines is advanced, has high literacy rate, sufficient and a smooth foreign relation. Filipinos were decimated, demoralized, exploited, and ruined by the Spanish colonization. The present state of the Philippines was not necessarily superior to its past. The three result purpose of why annotating Morga's work. First, to awaken the consciousness of the Filipinos regarding their glorious ways of the past. Second, to correct what has been distorted about the Philippines due to Spanish conquest. Last, to prove that the Filipinos are civilized, advanced even before the coming of the Spaniards. Annotation. The people of the Philippines had a culture on their own before the coming of the Spaniards. The people of the pre-Hispanic Philippines is advanced, has high literacy rate, sufficient and a smooth foreign relation. Filipinos were decimated, demoralized, exploited, and ruined by the Spanish colonization. The present state of the Philippines was not necessarily superior to its past. Climate by Morga. Winter and summer are opposite of those in Europe, Rainy weather is from June to September. Summer is from October to May, while Rizal in Maynila, by December to February, the temperature goes down more than it does during August to September. Thus, with regards to the season, it resembles Spain as the rest of the northern hemisphere. Plant species by Morga. Betel, pickle, and ginger are abundant, while Rizal, betel in Tagalog is kasubha.
Indigenous people. Morga. Tribes of whom cannot be safe because of violence. In Rizal, they will always choose violence until the government enter because of their inhuman ways as answer to those who do not submit to Friar's government. In Morga, there are no kings or lords to rule them. Morga was critical of the system of government because there are no rules of myriad communities, instead one leader of each tribe. Rizal. Rizal agreed that there were no such king. Rizal agreed that it was better that way because having a leader that knows what the tribes needs and what problems they have is more effective. Customs of the dead. Marga. They buried their dead in their own house, keeping their bodies unbound for a long time in boxes and venerating their skull. So kini di ay is ang ilang mga patayng lawas is nasa ilahang bay nga gisulod og box, mga box in a long time. In Rizal, we find it much more natural and pious to venerate the remains of our loved ones than those fanatical martyrs whom we have no dealings and who probably will never remember us. Economy. In Marga, cotton is raised to the island where they sell and trade as trades. The natives of the island sell the artifacts to the Japanese. The natives are always mining for gold, but when the Spaniards came, the mining became lesser and they just treasured that gold jewelry they have and passing it through generations. In Rizal, they also have cotton and not just rice. It's very interesting history shape and valued with the price of 100 offered for one of them. The Indians on seeing that wealth are used the capacity of the encomenderos and soldiers abandoned the work in the mines, and the price historians relate that in order to save them from vexations. Three kinds of Spanish delusions about the Philippines. First, the Filipino were an inferior race. Second, Filipinos were not ready for parliamentary representation and other reforms. Third, denial of equal rights can be compensated by strict dispensation of justice. 10 reasons why life was better in pre-colonial. First, women enjoyed equal status with men. Second, society was more tolerant in pre-colonial. Third, the people enjoyed higher form of government. Fourth, Filipino has smoother foreign relations. Fifth, Filipino were sufficient. Sixth, Our forefathers in the pre-colonial Philippines already practiced a working judicial and legislative system. 6. Knowledge and skills to make advanced weapons. 7. 8. Several professional already existed. 9. The literacy rate was high. 10. And the last number, we always had advanced civilization.